So right now we continue with the day's programming and we want to get into the first discussion for the day. And this particular discussion is about our children, and especially when it comes to helping our children continuously learn and grow. And to help us with this particular discussion, we have with us in studio this morning Sylvia Morumbwa, who is a designer by profession and also the owner of a 360 Degrees Marketing. Karibu sana, Sylvia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
How can our viewers find you on social media?
You can find me at Sylvia Morumbwa on Facebook. Yeah.
All right. Now, let's just start with the fact that you are a designer by profession. I see you also have studied in the areas of computer-aided design from Rhode Island School of Design in the USA. Tell us a bit about that side of you before we get to the teaching part of the divide.
Well, I am a designer. I run a company called 360 Degrees Marketing, which heavily does design, print, and branding. So I'm very well experienced in that area. I have worked with many organizations, including Trademark East Africa, Ernst & Young, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I have worked with many, many companies, even small and medium enterprises.
All right.
Yeah.
And how is the design industry in Kenya, from your experience working with the different companies that you have worked with, the opportunity you've had to interact with them, and also other creatives in that space? How is that industry as a whole in Kenya?
Well, design is fast growing. Before, design was not very well recognized in Kenya, but people have come to realize that you need visibility for your company to continue to grow.
Yes.
You need good branding. Say, for example, Coca-Cola.
Yes.
It has to brand and rebrand all the time, not just for the generation that is there now, but
the
current one, but also the children who are growing. They need to know what Coca-Cola is, as much as it has been there for many years. Yeah, so branding is something that companies cannot run away from, because everything right now, for your company to be visible, for your company to be known, you have to brand, you have to have good designs, you have to do print work, but most of the things right now are going online and digital. So even digital media is actually critical for every company right now.
And that is why you went ahead and founded this particular company, 360 Degrees Marketing?
Yes.
360. I like the idea
Yes,
behind
360.
I can see it.
We do everything
All
from
right.
the beginning to the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, aside from being a designer by profession, you are also very passionate about children. Where does your love for kids stem from? Is it from your upbringing, your interaction with children in society, an experience you went through or you saw a child going through? Where does it all stem from?
Well, my passion, first of all, starts with me being a mom. I am a mother of 3 children.
Yay.
And one is 9, another one is 6, and the other one is 4.
Okay.
So I always want to look for ways of how do I raise my children better. For them to just grow up to be children who are better in the society, who are innovators, who are not just boxed in their thinking, but children who think broadly and who will be the game changers in this world. Yeah, so in my own little space of the home, am I able to make that change? Am I able to mold these children into children who have good character? Because with the moral degradation in the world right now, we need more of such children.
Now, you know, the biggest place where children get so much of the experiences is in school. And now, you know, in the state that we are in now with this pandemic, children have been forced to stay out of school, and now they're being forced to go back to school. And that is now where homeschooling comes into play. But before we get to that whole bit about homeschooling, what are your thoughts about the education system in Kenya as a whole?
Well,
honestly speaking, as a mother of 3, fungua roho.
Well, I went through the 844 system, and it has its pros and cons. And I'm not here to
judge
the parents who take their children to school. Having taken my own children to school before I got them into the homeschooling system. So I can say that with the introduction of the CBC right now, it is drawing closer to what my to what I envisioned, you know, that my children would go through in terms of education. Because right now parents are more hands-on, and with the CBC, the parents are more involved in the children's education, the children's growth. So I can say that the government is really trying, and if it takes those steps towards making education better, then we will have a better education system.
And still looking at the state in which we are in with this pandemic, the fact that kids have been out of school for 6 months and now all of a sudden they're being told you're going to go back to school. Do you feel this system of education that we have in this day and time, of course we are in the 844 transitioning to the CBC, and also the way it's up and down is also in some way destabilizing our children?
I cannot say that it is destabilizing per se, because the 844 system was also very good. And I can say that, you know, what the 844 system had was, it was teacher-centered. But now things are moving from teacher-centered to student-centered. Yeah, such that, you know, before, the teacher is the one who had the information.
Yeah.
And it is the teacher who was giving the information to the students. So all the information that the student had to come from the teacher. But right now, the student is getting to explore more, to learn more. And the learning is not just concentrated on the four corners of the classroom.
Yeah.
Now children are more explorative, let me say. And they can learn from different areas. The technology, the internet has provided a lot of let me say, it has made the world a global village, yeah, such that the information that someone who is in America has is the same information that someone who is in a third world country is already getting.
Yeah.
So there is no much difference. So long as we do not concentrate on expecting the information to come from the teacher, then the child should not be destabilized in their education, because education can now be received from any point.
So the problem is the concentration of knowledge being one point always.
Yeah.
All right. And now, speaking of homeschooling, maybe from your experience, and of course these are expressly your thoughts, your understanding of homeschooling, and of course for the benefit of our viewers, and what homeschooling entails.
Homeschooling is basically, you know, it comes from the two words home and schooling, literally. Yeah, so the children are educated from home. And mainly the parent is the main tutor. Or if the parent feels overwhelmed or needs help, they can always get a resource person who will be able to assist the children, because we don't expect the parent to be competent in all areas.
Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes a parent can need help. So in areas where the parent needs help, they can always get in a resource person to come in and also assist the children in learning. Yeah, so some of the education also happens online. There are online teachers, there are programs or curriculums that allow the children to learn online.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you are a strong advocate for homeschooling, and I'd like to understand why that is so. And of course, given that you had mentioned that your children were previously in the regular system of education, going to school, before you switched them to homeschooling. Why did you get to a point as a parent to make that decision to go with homeschooling? Because now this involves you being more hands-on.
I felt that my children were having less time with me. Okay, maybe that was a selfish kind of
It's a struggle every mother goes through.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, every mother goes through that.
Yeah.
And I really needed more time to spend with my children, and I needed to just do things differently. And I remember one time when my son was in baby class, the school bus used to come at 5:45 to pick him. And I would wonder, why would a 4-year-old be picked at 5:45 a.m.? Then they would go through the traffic he was the first one to be picked. He would go through the traffic. And by the time he's at school, he is so exhausted, he can hardly take in much. Then he would be the last one to be dropped home. So he would be home at around 5, a 4-year-old.
That is a complete 12
And when he got to first grade, there's a time we moved houses, and the bus driver told us that we'll be picking him at 4:45 a.m. So when we resorted to dropping him to school, we would spend a lot of time in traffic just to take the child to the school that we wanted, because we believed that it had the values that we wanted, and we liked the teachers, we liked the school. It was a Christian-based school. Yeah, so I felt, as I was dropping the children, I felt we were spending a lot of time in traffic. So I would take that time in traffic and just try and teach them a few things here and there. We would teach something that is of their age level. And I saw they were enjoying it. And by the time the child comes back home, they were so exhausted, they had homeworks to do. They also want to play with their children. And should I want to do anything extra with them, they were too exhausted, they were just beat, they just want to go to bed. So with all these things, I realized that I am doing a lot of injustice to the children. They need more, they want more, but do we have the time? No. Do they have the energy to even attend to other areas? So, you know, with homeschooling, you are able to be flexible with your curriculum, and the child is allowed to explore and to do things which are outside books, because I believe education is not just about books. There is just more to education than books. It's supposed to bring out the child wholly. It's supposed to take care of the academics, number one, the emotional intelligence, the social, how is this child able to deal with adversities? You know, this is a harsh world.
The realities of life.
The realities of life. You know, this child should be able to learn how to deal with other people. So I believe that, you know, homeschooling was going to give them this platform, and it was going to be a safe environment for the children to learn with less pressure, because I believe also, as much as, you know, there's the goodness of taking children to school, but most of it is just exam based,
oriented, read to pass the exam.
Yes, you have to pass this exam, and you have to memorize, and if you do not memorize this, then you are not as brilliant as the other children. We do not see that children are actually gifted differently. As much as I do not know 1 + 1 at age 4, does not mean that I will not know 1 + 1. It's just that it is, I do not know it right now. Maybe someone else will know it right now. So being graded with the same person who has already known 1 + 1 at age 4 is actually unfair to me, because I could be having strengths in other areas. So with homeschooling, I always tell my son that you are your own competition. You can only be better than what you were yesterday. So I saw the way he became someone else once he started homeschooling.
And I'd like for you to just better help us and even the viewers at home who are parents watching us this morning to understand the actual change that you as a parent saw in your children, comparing to when they were going to regular school as opposed to homeschooling, and the different aspects of their lives, looking at social development, emotional, academic, psychological, all of that, the slight changes that you noticed as a parent.
Well, I can say that it wasn't slight changes. They were like very huge, noticeable changes.
All right.
I can talk of my experience, because it's my son's experience that I have, and my daughter's. I noticed that even his confidence level went very, very high. Before, he would be shy to do other things because he felt, I'm not doing it as good as so-and-so in school is doing. And sometimes he would come home so downcast, and he's wondering, Mom, why wasn't I chosen to go into the music festival? Mom, why wasn't I chosen to lead in this, and I believe I can do it. So such things used to bring him down and used to make him feel so small. So when we changed into homeschooling, he really became very confident because there was no one to put him down. And he became, his health even improved, because at school sometimes he would go and the food that they've given, he wasn't very comfortable eating it. And when he came home, we have, of course, he enjoys the food. He said, oh, what I like about homeschooling, the other thing is I enjoy the food. There is nutritious food at home. So the fact that you are able to customize the interest of the child. And, you know, when he came home, another thing that was very noticeable was we were able to nurture his talents better. Yeah. We realized how talented he was in music. So we brought in a music teacher who took him through music, and now he can do the piano very well. When he
at
was
9 years.
Yes, at 9 years. He actually started at 7. When he was at school, sometimes they would have swimming galas, and maybe because he wasn't as good as the other children, they would be put to swim during the parents' day at the swimming pool. And with them, they would be put to just do the play, and he wanted to do the swimming, but maybe because he has not proved to the teacher that he actually knows how to swim, he would be put aside. So such things, they demoralize the children, and they start making the child feel like, I am not good enough. But when we took him to the swimming tutor, he could swim the deep, and he could swim as many styles as he wanted. And we just saw him just, you know, come out in a very strong way that we never saw before.
And still looking at the experience you had with your son, how has it changed you as a parent when it comes to how you look at education as a whole, and when it comes to just teaching your child life?
It changed my perspective. First of all, we really bonded when we started homeschooling. Before, you know, we had very little time. He goes to school, maybe the only time that I would bond with him is at the car. Then when I pick him up, but when we started school transport, there was very little time, because he would leave very early, then come back very late. Then I would be on his neck, you have to finish your homework because tomorrow is school. Then after he's finished his homework, he would, you know, he would say, Mom, I'm so tired, I really need to go to bed. So there was no time to converse. I wouldn't know who the child is. So with homeschooling, it gave me time to understand the child. What is he feeling? What does he want? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? So we got to work on his weaknesses, and we would communicate more. So the child grew. I could see the child grew in so many areas.
It leaps and bounds. And also, in as much as, you know, homeschooling came with its benefits and all these upsides, I'm sure there are a few challenges that you had to encounter and adjust to just resolving them. Maybe in light of being realistic and encouraging another parent who wants to go this route, what should they expect when it comes to the challenges that might come with homeschooling?
I think the most noticeable challenge and the most spoken about challenge is how is their social life going to be. So you really have to sort that, otherwise the child will feel lonely. I remember my son at some point also told me, Mom, I really feel lonely. Then he gave me an option. He told me, why don't you bring my sister also into the homeschool? I didn't want to bring both of them because I was just starting out, and I needed to work with him so that as
you get the hang of it.
Yes, and get just the hang of it, so that by the time the sister comes in, then I already can deal with 2 children. So when I brought the sister on board, he was really happy. At least they had someone to play with. And with homeschooling, there are many COPs. COPs are like families coming together to, you know, homeschooling families. Yes. So with the many COPs are especially around Nairobi, where you can register and be taking your child, where they will socialize. like the COP that I usually take my son to is called Young Engineers. So with that they learn engineering. They also do science experiments. They also do PE, and they also socialize. So it was a very good platform for socialization. Well, apart from that, we also had the church. The church really played a very huge role in giving, you know, a social environment for him. So he has a lot of friends, and he would be so excited about church, and he would participate a lot in church programs.
All right, now as we close this particular discussion, what would be your advice to parents who have been thinking about homeschooling but they aren't sure because they don't know where to go to get, you know, the curriculum for homeschooling and, you know, the resources that are needed this morning? In brief, what would you tell them this morning?
I can say that homeschooling is doable. The curriculum that I'm using currently is an American-based curriculum, and it's very organized. It comes with a manual. It can be used by anyone, and it is student-centered, such that it's the student who runs their own learning, and the child actually grows. The child does the work, scores their own work. So as a parent, you become like a supervisor. So you supervise that and make sure that is what the child has done, is it correct? How is he progressing? But mostly the child does everything. So it triggers curiosity inside the child, and the child is able to explore in many ways.
So homeschooling is doable. It is absolutely doable. So if you're a parent who has been thinking about homeschooling but you don't know how to go about it, and especially now with this pandemic, we were thrown all over the place. You know, it's like water in a bottle and then being shaken. Schools closed all of a sudden. Now they're reopening all of a sudden because you know you had planned for January, but now here we are. The ministry saying schools are going to be reopening next week. So many saying they do not have the financial capability to take the kids back to school. Maybe homeschooling is an option you would want to look at. I'm sure the resources are there online. You can go ahead and read more about it, get to know the different sources where you can get curriculums that are tailor-made for your children. And of course, the best thing, as I'm getting from this particular conversation, is that homeschool can be tailor-made to each and every child.